The Early Childhood Commission was the first board meeting of the Early Childhood Commission was held in November 2003. I was appointed the first chair under then Minister of Education, Maxine Henry Wilson. The experience I had at the university hospital, seeing children with developmental problems, and the research had given me what I needed in order to know what to do when I got to the Early Childhood Commission. But what I knew nothing about was government policy and procedure. I knew only about how universities operated. I knew nothing about all these things in government, so I had to learn them. And I learned them under Maxine Henry Wilson. She gave me the guidance that was needed in those early years. And she charged me to develop a world-class early childhood system. And she gave me the guidance that I needed then. When I was appointed chair of the Early Childhood Commission, there were 3 staff members. There was an executive director, an executive assistant, and support staff member. That was it. There were 3 people on a board of 20. And so the engagement of all the staff members then took place. And I was working with Maxine. And after a couple of years, I said to her, Maxine, I can't do this in the way I'm doing it now. It's too big a job. And at the time, I was also head of the Department of Child Health at the university. And I said, I can't do both jobs well. One of them has to go. And so Maxine requested a secondment. She spoke with the principal of the university, requested a secondment. And with the support of the Chase Fund, I was able to spend 3 years building the organization from the ground up. Literally, we expanded the organizational structure. We developed the strategic plan for early childhood. One of the other factors that was really assisted me in moving the organization forward was the support that was obtained from the World Bank, support and guidance from the World Bank. They were tremendously interested in the fact that Jamaica had established this organization. But I also want to say that Jamaica had already been known before the Commission for early childhood development. And that was because of many stalwarts in early childhood. So I built on, I didn't come in fresh and new to start early childhood in Jamaica. I could never say that. There was so much already happening. And this was why the Early Childhood Commission was in fact established, because there was so much happening, but it was felt that it needed some coordination and pulling together. The Early Childhood Commission as an establishment and its national strategic plan for early childhood development, and many of the outputs of that strategic plan are now recognized as models. The World Bank calls it the Jamaica model for the strategic plan and have used it in other countries. I was flown many places by both the World Bank and the IDB to talk about the Commission, its structure and its function, and to talk about the strategic plan for early childhood development. A lot of people understand early childhood education and they think only about schools, but so much brain development takes place before 3. And so much happens before that it's so important to care for those first 3 years. If you start at schools, it's too late. You've got to start in those first 3 years. And so the strategic plan drew a lot of attention because it covered from birth right up to 8 years. And it also linked health, the social sector, the education sector, and the child protection sector all together in the one strategic plan, working across. And that was what made it the model that it is today. There is no publication that is written now by either the IDB or the World Bank that does not mention Jamaica's Commission or the strategic plan in it. I think that I was really blessed because I had the opportunity to take research, to do the research, and then to implement policy. Most times for academics, that actually doesn't happen. The academics do the research and they have to hope that somebody else implements a policy. So I was really blessed that I had done the research first and then was put in a position where I could actually impact policy. And one of the things that we found out at the Early Childhood Commission, that we knew, was that you can't work with children birth to 3 without working with parents. And also you had to utilize the health sector because this was where they were making contact with the state in the first 3 years. And so very early on in the game, along with all the board members who were very strongly supportive, we decided that we needed to develop a parenting policy to guide, Jamaica's plan for parenting. It didn't make sense to develop a parenting policy for only the first 6 to 8 years of life. So I went and spoke with Maxine Henry Wilson, and I said to her, I need your permission to take this policy from birth to 18 because my remit stops at 6. And she gave her support, and so we developed the country's national parenting policy. It was interesting to see how that has progressed because Maxine gave the support that was necessary for the policy to be developed. And then we had a change of government, and then I worked under Minister Andrew Holness at that point, who assigned Dr. Rebecca Tartello to work on the policy as well. And Rebecca was a tremendous strength in developing that policy further. And then he decided that it was important to have a commission similar to the Early Childhood Commission to implement the policy, because the policy was outside of the remit of the Early Childhood Commission. And so he decided that the National Parent Support Commission needed to be established. And then under Minister Thwaites was when the policy was actually completed and when the Parent Support Commission was actually established. So it moved across 3 ministers and different administrations. But now we do have it, and it is something that Jamaica is being recognized for in terms of how the parenting policy was developed. It would be the development of the Child Health Passport, which is given to every single child in Jamaica at birth. I had worked in the United Kingdom, and I had seen their passport that everybody gets, and I thought, this is amazing. Jamaica needs to have one of these. But to have something that has that kind of impact, you have to be within the government structure and system. You can't do that as a university. In fact, babies born at the university had a little paper that was marked UII Child Health Passport. But we needed to move on from that. We needed to have one that assisted children more, that was parent held, and that had tremendous information to guide parents. So we sought funding at the Early Childhood Commission, and at the same time found out that the Ministry of Health had been thinking of doing something similar, but it was placed within the strategic plan. And so the coordination of its development was done by the Early Childhood Commission. And we didn't say, oh, we know what needs to be in here. We did consultations. We spoke with parents. We spoke with professionals. We spoke with teachers. We spoke with healthcare workers and asked them what they wanted in there. And after that, we then had the passport developed, and it was first implemented in September 2010. And every baby gets one of these. So every time I see one, I have a little sense. I feel like my heart goes a little every time.